with Maine, the census has stated that most people will only stay for 2 years. I stayed for 17 months. But most will only stay for 2 years and then they're gone. That's people that move there. Now, there's also the homogeneous crowd that has stayed there for, generations and generations. There's some that are just cold-blooded. There's a university church. But they usually get up and they go, 2 years is the longest a person stays in Maine. People from out of town. True story. They only last for usually 2 years. That's out of towners, or what they call flatlanders. They call them, flatlanders. They last 2 years and then they head off. Now, Stephen is going to have a monologue on the third time we visit Stephen. We're about to write about Stephen tonight. Stephen's a mill worker that visits Jonah. He was like basically his hall neighbor. They lived in the same place over the pie pantry. He tells him that the pie pantry's moving out because Bob, the owner, is basically, I'll post it in a minute, but Bob, the owner, is pulling the plug on the whole thing. And then eventually the bank comes up, knocks on the door and says, all your checks are going to go to the bank for the property that you're in, for the space that you're basically, leasing or whatever you want to call it, The bank did that to me. Now, Bob sold it all and just, collected all the wood panels from the pie pantry, and that's what it opens, not the movie, but this particular scene opens there. Stephen comes over and says, you're going to have to find a better place. They're moving the ovens, which is a pie pantry ovens, and you're not going to be able to stay warm during the day or at night in the wintertime because those ovens keep you warm during the day. It's going to be too expensive to heat this place. I'd find a smaller place or whatever, because my place was a really big place. It was a really big place that was right over the pie pantry. The only reason I was there was because of the ovens, and the pie pantry was moving out. They're moving the ovens. They're moving the whole thing down the road. So I found another place. But there's a scene right after that scene, which we're going to get into a little bit later, that deals with the bulldog asking Jonah to move to the choppers, which is upstairs in the factory. The choppers is going to lead him to the day crew. Okay, so we're going to get rid of the night shift eventually and go to work in days, where he'll get up really early, and that's even harder because you can't mess up on the day shift. The night shift is loose. It's different type of team. It's a different feel. The day shift's professional. Those guys don't put up with anything, but they work longer hours and they get paid a little bit more. That's what got me out of there, and I continued working day shift till I finished up Escape from Maine, most of the book, and then I took off after 17 months. The whole thing was a 15-month project of working on the book. So I worked on the book every night for 15 months straight. The first 2 months I experimented with poetry and short stories. Then I went into the novel on the 3rd month, finishing up on the 15th month. Then I drove out from Moosehead Trail all the way out, going through, the whole deal, Boston, Baltimore, all of that stuff. Going all the way through to Tennessee. And then from Tennessee, which was Knoxville, from Knoxville, Tennessee, I bought a comb because I forgot. I lost my comb along the way. I bought a comb in Knoxville, and I videotaped a lot of it, but not like detailed videotape. It wasn't like vlogging. I just videotaped little moments of it, very little moments, but I still videotaped moments of it. And then I have all those videos I have in a lockbox in a clear plastic wrap. But really, it's a Ziploc baggie in those little HD recorder things that you put in a camera. They're little cartridges. I have them on that, so I have it stored. I took the book when I finally left. I took the book with me, with the computer. I continued polishing up the book when I got back to Fort Worth, which is pretty much where I am now. What I did when I left was I looked at different apartments, a lot of them in Irving and stuff like that. I looked at different apartments in Las Colinas. I found something in Fort Worth that was halfway cheap that I knew of before. Got a hold of the landlord and sent them the check in the mail to hold the place. They said it's good. Then I left with about $1,500 is what I had when I left in savings, and I was able to get out. I thought about writing another one called Escape from New York, but they've already have one called Escape from New York, so I might call it Escape from Manhattan. And that's a whole different story. That has to do with September 11th, 2001. And I want to make sure I'm a mature legit writer before I start Escape from Manhattan, which is a little like Escape from New York, but not as fiction. But I do like Escape from Maine, and I am going to do a page tonight. I've already written. I'll be posting it here in a minute. But what I do, if you don't know, if you don't follow the channel, when I post notes on Escape from Maine on my Facebook, those are kind of loose notes that are very similar to the script, but not exact. Okay, there'll be some, maybe a little bit of spelling error here and there. They're mostly what I'm writing, you know, while when I have breaks and stuff. Then it'll go up on Facebook, and you'll see, okay, I see. Those are mostly notes. I take those notes, and it's the second process of the whole thing. First, I write in notes. Then it goes and posts on Facebook. Then from Facebook, it goes into the screenplay, which is called Final Draft. It's three process. First, goes right into notes. Second, Facebook, it lands on Facebook. Usually those are about the same. So it's twofold, really. But I'm also forgetting the note card, so it's really threefold. Because the note card sits on the computer, and it's very similar to how I wrote Escape from Maine. It was usually on a scratch sheet of paper for what I need to put down. They're usually highlighted notes. Then it goes into notes, which is, you know, the computer. I'm using a threefold process because it goes into the note card first, then it goes into notes second, then it goes into the computer third. Forgot about that.
This one is a hazelnut. Sherbet's actually pretty good.
This new blue one, just like the rocket thing, pretty good. That was decent. The hazelnuts actually could be one of my favorites, I think. The hazelnut's probably pretty good. That's pistachio, yeah. Pistachio, those are probably my two favorites right there. It's gonna be pistachio and the hazelnut, or that's the boba tea maybe. No, that's the hazelnut, and that's the pistachio. This one's actually the rocket thing. Looking like a really... know exactly why. One problem I come across a little bit. I'll show you a problem I come across quite often on these. What they do usually in delivery is they give you an itemized receipt. And Runner, you sometimes have to put in a price for the amount that they paid for, or you match the receipt. I would say every place I come to does itemized only, which itemized sometimes has a price, but in many cases it just shows the food. So it shows what's on the food because it's already gone into the system, but they back it up with another receipt. They're the only company that does that so far, Runner is. I think maybe Grubhub does a photo. Uber, it's all pre-ordered on Uber. Postmates, I think, sometimes does a photo of the receipt. DoorDash, in special occasions, does. If you have to pay, but you don't have to take a photo of it, but you still get a receipt. But you don't have to take a photo of it. This one you do. So, and I have got emails about it because they don't give it to you. And when you hit the road, you're like, oh no, the receipt. I'll show you what they give you instead. I'll actually show you. And this is, I want to know about this too. Here's the actual receipt for the order. I had to get it separately. Here's what they give you. Okay. That's the receipt. You see there's no price on it? Can you see? There is a price on what you have to ask for on the receipt. There's a difference between the two. This is the one with the price. So if you forget to do that, which I don't anymore, I always remember to do it, then you have to turn around and go back and get it, or you'll get an email about it. There must be a reason why. Probably because it's quicker to just show what's the food. That's like the kitchen receipt is what they're putting on there. It's for the kitchen. We have to have the one with the price on it, which I need to take a photo of that. And it goes into the Runner app. Micah Nelson, the son of Willie Nelson, a pretty smart guy for going with the particle kid. I'm sorry, the particle kid. I'll have to look it up, but particle boy, I think. Yeah, particle boy. Now, he's going down the line of Brian Jonestown Massacre, and maybe a little bit Dandy Warhol's. That dun 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 dun. That's very Brian Jonestown Massacre, which Brian Jonestown they kind of took from Frank Zappa. And Frank Zappa, he recorded tons of music. They don't even have it all categorized. Frank Zappa. I think Lady Gaga purchased a lot of his either his property or his stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Frank Zappa. But Frank Zappa was an experimental musician, recorded one song after the next song, after the next song, after the next song. None of them were hits. None of them made top 10 singles. I don't know if one of them did. There might have been one that made top 10 single. I would be surprised, maybe 2 or 3, maybe at the most. I wouldn't know them. I don't know a single song Frank Zappa wrote, but I do know that he did a lot of writing, and he experimented a lot and had his own stuff in Hollywood. So he had his own studio. He had a place to archive everything, just like we do on our phones, but they had like a room of storage where he could actually record it on an 8-track and all these different tracks. And he put all that stuff, and that's all he wanted to do, and that's all he did, Frank Zappa. He didn't go audition for Spielberg or anything. He just put all that stuff in storage, and they're still categorizing it today and digitizing it as much as they can before it goes bad. Now, Brian Jonestown's probably in the same boat, but they're digitizing Brian Jonestown stuff because it was on 8-track. Maybe a lot of it switched over to CD, which that's going to last a long time. You're lucky to have an album on a CD and then just sit there and look at that album with us on a CD. It's in safe keepings for probably 100 years. Then it'll have to be digitized and then streamed. I don't know if there's a life or a shelf expiration on a CD, on a compact disc. I haven't heard that there was, as long as we still make the product. Now, you can always press it into a record and you're still in a good shape. So if you're sitting there looking at your record, I mean vinyl. So if you're looking at your album on a vinyl, you're in good shape because they're going to have a record player and they're going to be able to live in that world on the record player. And then they can digitize it into a CD, a compact disc. You can go back and forth. A lot of people feel as a band that you have to press it on a vinyl. Then you're looking at your album on a vinyl. You got it right there. That is proof. And then it can end up on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and he can either make fun of it or play it and kind of laugh, or he can play it and like it. You know, like, this is not too bad. Many people have gone that route, or thousands of musicians have. It's neat to go and explore because there's probably some gems out there. Daniel Johnston stuck to the tape recorder. I'm sure they do have plenty on vinyl, and they do certainly have it on CD, and they're going to have it digital big time on Daniel Johnston. He's all digitized almost, and they're still working on it in Austin. Exciting Mika being in Texas because Jordan the Lion vlogged the ranch, Willie Nelson's place. So they have a music compound. It's like a ranch for musicians. They got a thing called Willie Reserve on it. Probably, I would say Jordan the Lion and Breck Roll know a little bit about that because Flaming Lips, the Flaming Lips came through. And they came through, and I know some of their stuff. They're on the lines of Brian Jonestown too. Turned out to be the neighbor. There it is.